Welcome to our channel English a Day, where real stories not only touch your heart, but also train your ears, your brain, and your voice in simple, powerful English. Today I'm going to take you on a journey of dreams, luxury, pain, betrayal, and success. But this is not fiction. This is a true story. The story of a man who started with nothing and created a name the whole world respects. Gucci, yes, the brand you see on fashion runways, the brand worn by celebrities, kings, queens, and millionaires. But what if I told you that the man behind this billion-dollar brand once worked as a hotel porter? He opened doors, he carried luggage, he stood near staircases with a uniform. He was just a boy with a dream, and today I'm going to tell you how that boy became a legend. Watch till the end, and you will not only learn English, you will learn about life, business, struggle, and courage. You will discover how a vision can survive even betrayal and family war. Every word in this story is spoken slowly, clearly, and simply, so you can listen, learn, and grow with every second. So now, let's begin part 1, The Hotel Boy. Let me take you back to the year 1881. A baby boy was born in Florence, Italy. His name was Gucci. His family was not rich. They lived a simple life. His father, Gabriele Gucci, was a leather craftsman. He made small items with his hands, belts, saddles, bags. He worked hard, but the family didn't earn much. Times were tough. Guccio was a quiet boy. He didn't have many toys. He didn't wear new clothes, but he had something many children didn't have: curiosity. He looked around and thought, why are some people rich? Why do some people dress so well? What makes them different? He didn't say these questions out loud, but he watched, he listened, he observed. At a young age, maybe around 17 or 18, Guccio decided to leave Italy. He was looking for work, a better future, and something exciting. He went to London, the capital of England. And there his life started to change. He found a job at the Savoy Hotel, one of the most luxurious hotels in all of London. But he was not a guest. He was a porter. A porter is someone who helps guests carry bags, open doors, and sometimes clean or serve quietly. Guccio wore a uniform and stood straight near the hotel entrance, waiting for guests. Now listen carefully, this is the turning point. Most porters just do their job and go home. But Guccio, he watched. He observed every small detail of the rich people who walked into that hotel. He saw the way they dressed. He noticed their shoes, their coats, their leather bags. And that's when he had a thought. These people carry bags that show their class. Their style is not just fashion, it's status. What if I could make something like that? What if I could bring Italian craftsmanship into luxury fashion? That thought stayed in his mind, and the magic of Gucci was born in silence, in his mind, while he was still wearing a hotel uniform. For years, Guccio continued working. He didn't jump into business right away. He studied not from books, but from people. He watched how the guests talked, how they held their bags, what they liked, what they hated. He understood rich people, how they think, how they shop, what makes them feel powerful. He was learning luxury just by watching it from the side, and during all this time he never forgot his roots. He remembered his father's small leather workshop back in Florence. And one day he decided to go back. Guccio returned to Florence in the early 1900s. By now he was a man with a plan. He was around 39 years old when he finally opened a small leather goods shop. In 1921 he called it Gucci. At first, it was not a fashion brand. He sold high-quality leather bags inspired by the ones he had seen in the hotel. His goal was simple: bring luxury and style to Italy, using local craftsmanship. But it wasn't easy. He didn't have a lot of money. He worked every day, long hours with his hands designing stitching, selling. But slowly people noticed. His leather bags were beautiful, strong and stylish. They had class, they had elegance, and soon the name Gucci became famous in Florence. People didn't just say, "I need a bag." They said, "I want a Gucci." And that, my friend, is the beginning of a fashion empire. Part 2. The Rise of Gucci. But while the bags were elegant, while the craftsmanship was flawless, the road to success was not easy. Gucci wasn't just fighting against other brands. He was also fighting against his own family's expectations. You see, Gucci wasn't just creating a business. He was creating a legacy, and legacies come with challenges. One of those challenges was his own sons. By the late 1930s, Gucci had built his name and reputation. His bags were now sought after by royalty movie stars and business tycoons. Gucci's name was starting to shine. But the real power and transformation would come with the entry of his sons. Guido had 3 sons. Aldo, the oldest, who was driven, confident, and often a bit forceful in his decisions. Vasco, the second son, who was quieter and less involved in business. Rodrigo, the youngest, who at first was not interested in the business at all. But Gucci was not just creating a business empire. He was creating a battle for control. As his brand grew, his sons wanted to have their say in how the company would be run. It was clear that the time would soon come when Gucci's sons would fight for power, each believing that their vision for Gucci was the right one. But before that, the brand had to grow, and it would grow because Aldo, the eldest son, was determined to take Gucci to new heights. In the 1950s, Aldo made a bold move. He decided to take Gucci from a small Florence-based brand and turn it into a global empire. He set his sights on America, a country that was quickly becoming the center of the fashion world. Why America? Because America, with its growing wealth and glamorous lifestyle, was the perfect place for Gucci's leather bags, shoes, and accessories. Americans loved luxury. They loved status symbols, and Gucci was about to become one of the most powerful status symbols of all time. But Aldo faced an enormous challenge. He had to make Gucci more than just a high-quality product. He had to make it a cultural phenomenon. So he focused on advertising, marketing, and creating a story that would make people want Gucci products. Aldo's genius was in making Gucci a lifestyle. He didn't just sell products, he sold a dream. The idea that when you wore Gucci, you were not just wealthy, you were also part of a select group of elite individuals. Gucci became a symbol of sophistication, class, and world-class taste. One of the key moments that helped solidify Gucci's identity was the creation of its now famous green and red stripes. These stripes weren't just for decoration, they became the mark of luxury. If you saw the stripes, you knew it was Gucci. It was simple, it was bold, it was powerful. But how did the stripes become so iconic? It all started when Aldo Gucci decided that his products needed something special, something memorable. He drew inspiration from the idea of Italian equestrian style, the kind of horses and riding gear used by wealthy Italians in the past. He combined this heritage with modern fashion and design. It was genius. The green and red stripes became the signature design that would be recognized worldwide. People began to associate those colors with luxury, elegance, and exclusivity. As the 1960s rolled around, Gucci had officially become an international phenomenon. The brand was no longer just about handbags. It had expanded into shoes, belts, scarves, ties, and even clothing. Gucci was everywhere. And the more Aldo pushed Gucci forward, the more the brand became tied to royalty film stars, and the rich Jackie Kennedy, the wife of US President John F. Kennedy, became one of the most famous people to wear Gucci. Her Jackie O bag became iconic. This wasn't just a bag, it was a symbol of power, style, and grace. Women everywhere wanted to look like Jackie Kennedy, and they wanted to wear what she wore. Gucci wasn't just a brand, it was a story. The brand's association with Hollywood grew stronger. Every year, Audrey Hepburn, Sophia Loren, and Grace Kelly were all spotted wearing Gucci. In fact, some of Gucci's designs were so beautiful they were worn in movies as part of the costumes. The Hollywood connection only made Gucci more desirable. The more famous people wore it, the more it became a symbol of status. Gucci was no longer just a leather goods shop in Florence. It was a global powerhouse with stores opening in London, New York, and Tokyo. The dream that Gucci had started with a small shop was now a massive global brand. But while Gucci was rising in the world, something else was happening behind closed doors. The family was falling apart. The story of Gucci became as much about betrayal, jealousy, and conflict as it was about success. Gucci, the founder, had passed away in 1953. His sons, Aldo Vasco and Rodrigo, each wanted to take the business in their own direction. This family divide would soon turn into a war for control of the Gucci empire. Aldo, the eldest son, had been running the company for years, but he was now facing stiff competition from his brothers, who believed they should have more control. This family war would not only change the future of Gucci, but also set the stage for some of the darkest moments in the company's history. Part 3: The Gucci Family Drama. Aldo was ambitious, bold, and full of ideas. He wanted to expand the brand globally, and he wasn't shy about making big decisions. But his brothers Vasco and Rodrigo also had ideas of their own. Vasco, who had initially been uninterested in the family business, now wanted a say in how things were run. Rodrigo, the youngest, was caught in the middle, unsure of where his loyalties lay. As time passed, Aldo became more assertive, and his brothers started feeling left out. It wasn't just about money anymore. It was about pride, ambition, and the desire for control over the Gucci name. Aldo had poured his heart and soul into Gucci's success. But his overconfidence led to mistakes. He became obsessed with expanding the business. While his drive made Gucci into a global brand, it also made him reckless. He took on massive debts in the name of growth, thinking that expansion was the key to Gucci's future. But all of this came at a price: family unity and trust. By the late 1970s, Gucci was struggling to maintain its position in the fashion world. The brand had become synonymous with luxury, but that also meant it was facing pressure from rivals, especially in the booming fashion world of the 1980s. Companies like Louis Vuitton, Prada, and Chanel were starting to challenge Gucci's supremacy. Aldo's leadership was questioned not only by outsiders, but by his own family. The rivalry among the Gucci brothers was intensifying. Vasco, who had been content staying in the background, suddenly became more involved. His brother Aldo's decisions now seemed reckless to him. Vasco believed that Aldo's thirst for expansion had left Gucci vulnerable. At the same time, Rodrigo, who had largely stayed away from the company, began voicing his dissatisfaction with how things were being handled. The family's once tight-knit bond was now beginning to crack. But the real turning point came when Aldo's son, Maurizio Gucci, entered the picture. Maurizio had spent much of his life away from the family business. He had studied in Switzerland and had even tried to build his own career before being drawn back into Gucci by his father. Maurizio was young, determined, and full of ambition. he wanted more. He wanted to take Gucci to the next level. But in his own way, the tension between him and his uncle Aldo began to rise. Maurizio had ideas that didn't align with Aldo's vision. Aldo's push for expansion and his focus on profit seemed too risky to Maurizio. He believed Gucci needed innovation to survive, not just expansion. Maurizio's arrival in the Gucci business was a pivotal moment. Maurizio was determined to make a name for himself, not just as a Gucci heir, but as the future leader of the company. But Maurizio wasn't just looking for change in design or marketing. He wanted to take control, and this meant he had to outsmart Aldo. And that's exactly what he did. Maurizio started playing a dangerous game. He befriended people who had conflict with Aldo, including powerful board members, and subtly began to build his own network within Gucci. Maurizio understood that the only way to take control of Gucci was to buy out his family. So he began using the family's wealth against them with the help of outside investors. Maurizio's betrayal was swift and quiet. He made sure to keep his plans secret. One day Aldo found out, but by then it was too late. Maurizio had already secured enough support to oust Aldo from his position. The man who had taken Gucci from a small shop in Florence to a global powerhouse was now cast aside. Maurizio had become the new head of Gucci. Aldo didn't go down without a fight. Of course he was devastated by his son's actions. The betrayal stung even more because Maurizio was not just a son to him, he was a symbol of Gucci's future. But in the end, Aldo was forced to step aside. He lost control of Gucci to the very family he had built the empire for. But Maurizio's victory wasn't complete. While he had gained control, he didn't have full support from the Gucci family. Rodrigo and Vasco were still skeptical about Maurizio's leadership, and they believed he wasn't ready to handle the power he had just seized. Maurizio Gucci now had everything he wanted. He was in charge of one of the world's most famous luxury brands, but with great power came great responsibility and great pressure. The Gucci empire had grown into a multi-billion-dollar business, but it was also highly fragile. The world of luxury fashion was constantly changing, and Gucci had to evolve to stay at the top. Maurizio had a new vision for the brand. He wanted to modernize Gucci, appealing to a younger, more fashionable audience. But there was one problem. His bold ideas started clashing with the traditionalists in the family. Maurizio's ambition had alienated many, and now even the brand's loyal customers were unsure of the direction Gucci was taking. Maurizio Gucci's story was no longer just about business and fashion. It was about betrayal, love and revenge. The same man who had taken control of one of the world's most prestigious fashion houses was now about to become part of a scandal that would shock the world. Maurizio's personal life was in many ways as dramatic as the business conflicts within the Gucci family. He had married Patrizia Riani, a beautiful and ambitious woman. In 1972, Patricia came from a wealthy background, but her relationship with Maurizio wasn't just about love, it was about power. She wanted to be part of the Gucci legacy, and she saw Maurizio as her ticket to a luxurious life. Together they seemed like the perfect couple. But behind closed doors, their marriage was full of struggles. In the early years, Maurizio and Patricia's relationship was rocky. They were often seen at glamorous events, living a life of excess, but their marriage was far from perfect. Maurizio's growing commitment to Gucci's business took a toll on his personal life. He became distant and focused more on the company's growth, leaving Patrizia feeling neglected. But Patrizia, who had always craved attention and power, became frustrated with Maurizio's lack of interest in her and her desires. She wanted more than just a life of luxury. She wanted control, influence, and a greater stake in Gucci's future. As time went on, Patricia's dissatisfaction with her marriage grew. She wasn't content just being the wife of the Gucci heir. She wanted to be in control of the brand itself, but Maurizio was becoming more and more focused on expanding Gucci's global reach. He had already made significant moves to modernize the company, but his marriage was starting to fall apart. By the early 1980s, Maurizio had completely distanced himself from Patrizia. Their divorce became inevitable. What followed was one of the most public and bitter divorces in history. Patrizia felt humiliated and betrayed, and she wasn't going to let Maurizio get away without paying the price. The separation left her emotionally shattered, but also with a deep sense of anger and resentment towards her ex-husband. Maurizio, on the other hand, seemed cold and uninterested in fixing their broken relationship. He was ready to move on, focusing even more on Gucci's future. While Patrizia was devastated by the turn of events, the tension between Maurizio and Patrizia grew to a boiling point. Patrizia's resentment was growing every day, and she could not shake off the sense of betrayal. She was no longer just angry at Maurizio for abandoning her. She was furious at how he had ruined everything she had built around the Gucci name. As the years passed, Patrizia began to develop an obsession with Maurizio's life, watching his every move from a distance and growing increasingly bitter. It was at this point that Patricia began to plot. Patricia didn't just want revenge in the form of a bitter divorce settlement. She wanted something far more shocking. She wanted Maurizio dead. To her, this wasn't just about getting back at him for the divorce. It was about reclaiming the control she had lost when Maurizio had left her for another woman and for the business. Maurizio's life was starting to unravel in the most dramatic way possible. Patricia began seeking out hitmen to carry out her plan. She reached out to a former lover who had connections to criminal elements and began putting the pieces together for a murder plot. She didn't want just anyone to kill Maurizio. She wanted someone who could do it in a way that seemed like an accident or a random crime. She carefully chose the date and location planning to carry out the murder in the most shocking way possible. On March 27, 1995, Maurizio Gucci was walking into his office at Gucci's Milan headquarters. It was a typical day, and Maurizio had no idea what was about to happen. As he approached the entrance of his office building, a gunshot rang out, striking him in the back. Maurizio fell to the ground, unable to defend himself. His death was swift. He was shot 3 times, each shot hitting him in critical areas. The assassin, a man named Antonio Dantis, had been hired by Patricia. He was paid to kill Maurizio as part of the elaborate scheme that Patricia had masterminded. She wanted him dead, not just for personal revenge, but to make a statement to remind Maurizio that he could not walk away for their past without consequences. As Maurizio lay dying on the cold marble floor, he must have thought about the family business he had fought so hard to build. He had made a name for himself in the fashion world, but now his life had come to a tragic and violent end. Patrizia, who had orchestrated the murder, was now free from Maurizio's shadow. But her actions would soon lead to a far more dramatic downfall. The murder of Maurizio Gucci was a sensational crime that immediately captured the attention of the media. The fashion world, which had been watching Gucci's dramatic changes, was now in shock. How could such a powerful and successful man die in such a violent and brutal manner? The investigation into Maurizio's murder was swift, and it didn't take long for the police to uncover the shocking truth. Patricia Riani, Maurizio's ex-wife, was arrested and charged with conspiracy to murder. The evidence was overwhelming, and it became clear that she had been the mastermind behind the plot. Patricia had planned the murder carefully, using her wealth and influence to arrange everything from the hitmen to the logistics. She had been driven by jealousy, revenge, and a twisted sense of power. Patricia's arrest stunned the world. She had been the woman behind the glamorous Gucci image, but now she was the face of a tragedy. The once promising future of Gucci was now overshadowed by the dark legacy of a family torn apart by betrayal, murder, and revenge. After Maurizio's death, the Gucci brand had to deal with a storm of controversy. The family squabbles, the divorce, and the murder that had unfolded so publicly had left a scar on Gucci's reputation. Many believed that the company would crumble under the weight of this scandal. But in reality, Gucci's spirit was too strong to be destroyed by the tragic events of the past. At the time of Maurizio's death, the Gucci brand was a bit stagnant. There were many challenges facing the company: internal conflict, lack of direction, and an increasingly competitive luxury market. Gucci's traditional image was beginning to feel outdated, and the luxury industry was changing. So the Gucci family was at a crossroads. Would they continue on the same path, or would they take a bold risk and reinvent the brand entirely? It didn't take long for new leadership to step in, and the first step was bringing in Tom Ford, a young designer from the United States. Ford's entry into Gucci marked the beginning of a new era for the company. An era that would completely revitalize the brand. Ford was bold, innovative, and had a unique vision. He was determined to transform Gucci into a global fashion powerhouse, one that was as cutting-edge as it was luxurious. Ford's first collections for Gucci were game-changers. His designs were edgy, modern, and sensual, and they resonated with a younger, more fashion-forward audience. Under his direction, Gucci became synonymous with high-end glamour and sophistication. And it wasn't long before the brand was once again on the cutting edge of fashion. Under Tom Ford's leadership, Gucci experienced a renaissance. Ford's first Gucci show in 1994, shortly after Maurizio's death, was a statement to the world. He showcased a bold new vision that mixed luxury with sex appeal, and it was an instant success. Revenue skyrocketed as Ford's designs caught the attention of the fashion world. His work had a massive impact on Gucci's image and identity, turning it into one of the most coveted fashion labels globally. In just a few years, Ford helped increase Gucci's profits by over 500%. His provocative campaigns, which often featured high-profile supermodels and celebrities, brought Gucci back to the forefront of fashion. The brand was now known for its bold designs, luxurious appeal, and powerful presence in the fashion industry. Ford's influence was not just about design. It was also about marketing. He transformed Gucci from a traditional brand into a global fashion phenomenon. His use of advertising and celebrity endorsements helped solidify Gucci as a status symbol for the rich and famous. The brand became synonymous with success, power, and wealth. Gucci's rise under Tom Ford wasn't just about design and innovation, it was also about a financial explosion. In the late 1990s, Gucci's revenues exploded from around $500 million to $2.5 billion. The brand had officially bounced back from the crisis it had suffered after Maurizio's death. One of the most impressive aspects of Gucci's resurgence was how it managed to capture the attention of a new generation of young, wealthy consumers. As the 2000s progressed, Gucci became more than just a luxury brand. It became a symbol of modern success. Celebrities, musicians, actors and athletes all wore Gucci, and it became an essential part of the fashion elite's wardrobe. By the early 2000s, Gucci was one of the most valuable fashion brands in the world. It was also one of the most recognizable names in global luxury, commanding top prices for its handbags, shoes, and ready-to-ear collections. In 2019, Gucci's brand value was estimated to be around $18 billion, and its annual revenues had surpassed $10 billion. This was a huge turnaround, given that the brand had once been on the brink of collapse. Just a few years earlier, Tom Ford's reign at Gucci ended in 2004, but the brand's growth didn't stop there. Alejandro Michele, who became Gucci's creative director in 2015, brought his own unique vision to the brand. He embraced gender fluidity, bold patterns, and a mix of styles that appealed to a younger, more diverse audience. Under Michele's direction, Gucci once again reinvented itself, and it quickly became one of the most talked-about brands in the fashion world. His collections were filled with unexpected combinations of bold colors, floral patterns, and historical references, and they resonated with a generation that was seeking something different from the traditional luxury brands. Gucci's revenue under Michele has continued to grow, and in 2020 the brand's global sales were estimated to be around $9 billion, maintaining its status as one of the most powerful and influential fashion labels worldwide. In 2016, Patricia was granted parole after serving just 18 years of her sentence. She was released from prison at the age of 67 and returned to the luxurious life she had once known, but it was a far cry from the power and fame she had enjoyed as Maurizio's wife. She was often seen in high-end fashion and continued to live in the lap of luxury. Even though her past was permanently stained by the murder of the man she once loved. Today Gucci stands as a global fashion powerhouse. The brand has continued to thrive in the competitive world of luxury fashion, constantly evolving and embracing new trends. It's now a part of the Kering Group, one of the largest luxury conglomerates in the world, which also owns brands like Saint Laurent, Bottega Veneta, and Balenciaga. Gucci's success is not just measured by its profits or prestige, it's also about the legacy it continues to build. The brand has become a symbol of empowerment, innovation, and timeless style. It has evolved from a family business to a global icon, with its sustainability initiatives and commitment to creativity, paving the way for future generations in fashion. Gucci's journey from a family-run business to a global fashion icon is one of the most incredible stories in the history of fashion. Despite the tragedy that struck the Gucci family, the brand's ability to reinvent itself and adapt to new times is what has made it an enduring symbol of luxury, creativity, and success. Maurizio Gucci's death, Patricia Riani's obsession, and the murder that shocked the world are all part of the larger story of Gucci. A story of triumph and tragedy, betrayal and success, and a brand that refuses to die. It serves as a powerful reminder that even in the face of great loss, something new and extraordinary can emerge. The legacy of Gucci will continue to inspire fashion lovers, entrepreneurs, and dreamers all over the world for years to come. And while the family's story may have been full of scandal, betrayal, and tragedy, it ultimately showcases the resilience of the Gucci name and the power of reinvention. And that's the end of the unbelievable story of Gucci, A brand born from hard work, nearly destroyed by greed and betrayal, and finally brought back to life through vision, courage, and change. What can we learn from this? One, success can be taken away if we forget our values. 2, family or business trust is powerful, but so is betrayal. 3, even after the darkest moments, it's never too late to rebuild. 4, leadership matters. Right people can turn failure into success. 5, change is not the end. It can be the beginning of something greater. Gucci's story teaches us that life is not just about rising. It's about rising again after we fall. That's what makes a brand, a person, or a dream truly legendary. So whether you're learning English, building a dream, or just trying to find motivation in your own story, don't give up. Keep learning, keep moving forward. And remember, even the biggest success story started with pain, struggle, and a choice to keep going. Thank you for watching. This is your place for stories, book summaries, life lessons, motivation, and learning English every day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next story.